and a friend to every person in this arena, Mr. Steve Lund. You're the best.
How about Ruth Todd? You know, I'm so inspired by Joe Chang. Let's just try this. I say Ruth, you say Todd. I say Ruth. Ruth. Joe. Blake. Blake. Nancy. Roni. Exactly. Sandy. Kelly. That doesn't work. San. D. I say San, you say D. San. San. Thank you very much. You are rockers. You know, we've been doing this for a long time together, and sometimes we think back on what it was that got all this, got this whole flame started. We've accomplished a lot, but the good we do today is being propelled by the culture that we and many of you created way back then, 35 years ago, when we set out to build this company. I don't know that we really had any idea that we were going to be creating a legacy, but we knew that in order to do any good at all, that we were going to need to draw thousands of people together like this. And that if we were going to draw thousands of people like you together, it would have to be bringing them together around ideas that matter, about your most urgent needs, about your hopes and your aspirations, beginning with the desire for an opportunity that would allow you to find financial security and the freedom to do other things. But we knew that to create an enduring company these people were looking for, you people would be looking for, it was going to need to be about more than just money. This human species of ours is a very generous one. Human beings want to have a positive impact on each other and even on the world. Now, I don't know if 35 years ago we were really thinking about that legacy or creating a legacy at all. We were, after all, even younger then than we are today. But we just knew that we could make the biggest impact on people by helping people to help other people. So that hope sprang from personal values of the early founders and the early distributors that came together and shaped this culture in those early days. And soon we saw that the enthusiasm that grew around our initiatives, and we knew that this wasn't going to be just about the business. We knew that we had a good chance to do a lot of good in the world. So early on, we chose to focus our efforts on lifting the disadvantaged children of the world. Children who struggle for a number of reasons. Children who may not have access to what it takes to be successful. Children who simply need somebody to believe in them and to give them a hand up. Now, let me just name a few names to you and ask you to just consider for a moment what these folks have in common. So here are some names. Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Elsa, Aurora, Rapunzel, Jasmine, and even Everest the Abominable Snowman. What do they have in common? You don't have to answer out loud, but just think about that. They were special for certain reasons. Now let's take a moment and think about what those characters have in common with these characters. Now you recognize them, right? See these folks? We're talking about Steve Jobs and Nelson Mandela and Aristotle, John Lennon, Confucius, Elizabeth I, Ella Fitzgerald, Leo Tolstoy, Marie Curie, J.R.R. Tolkien, Alexander Hamilton. Now I imagine you recognize them, but what you may not know is that each of them faced serious challenges very early in their lives, at very early ages, and still went on to do heroic things. None of them knew or grew up in a traditional family environment. Either they had lost a parent, or they were adopted, or they were cared for by people who were not their parents. But because they had people who believed in them, people who gave them a hand up, well, they blossomed. Now just look at the immense contributions that these people made in the course of their lives in terms of arts and business and politics and even world history. somewhere in their earlier lives, somebody believed in them and gave them an opportunity to discover the best that existed within them. Somebody helped them to obtain training and education and experience that empowered them to go on to change the world. And so that's what they did, each of them in their own way. And how different our world today would be without those contributions of these important people. Well, here at Nuskin, back in those early days, we sensed that there were children like these scattered among the poor and the hopeless all around the world, with astonishing, world-changing kinds of gifts. And we knew that we would love to be a part of the solution that would lift them all up, all of these children, not just because they had gifts, but because they were children, but especially those among them who had the capacities to solve the problems of their home countries, their home nations, their home communities, those who could lead, those who could provide answers. Now, since Blake first uttered that phrase, force for good, back in a convention speech back in, when was it, like 1993, I think, he said, he used the phrase, a force for good, and he applied that to you. Well, it's perfect. You are a force. You are an unstoppable, passionate, caring force for good. And you bring all that force together to do good. The Nuskin family is driven by that simple phrase, that pure desire to be a force for good. Well, here and everywhere that we go. Well, this morning, Rich talked about who we are and about who it is that we hope to be and how we actually can be a major agent of change in this world. You individually don't generally have the hubris to suggest that you are world changers, but you truly are. With every contribution that you make, with every bag of Vitameal you purchase or sell or donate, this world sees a little bit less of suffering and a lot more of hope. Each of these changes are intentional and they're personal, because we don't help the planet, we help individual people. And we actually don't do anything. You do. You, individually. You, the person that's sitting between those two people next to you. Every child fed, every surgery performed, every life enriched happens only because one of you choose to help one of them. Our mission is to empower people to improve lives. As we travel the world, setting up Nuskin businesses in each of your markets over the past many years, we have, together with you, looked for ways to improve lives in your own communities and countries. We determined to focus along the way on the most vulnerable among us, upon the lives of children, the next generation of possible artists and engineers and writers and scientists and Nuskin distributors and musicians and business leaders. Now, these folks, these children out there in your communities will go on to change the world, either for the worse because of their hopelessness, or for the better through their enabled gifts, gifts often that you are enabling. There are many children who need our help, and you're making a significant and lasting impact on those children all over the world. Children who could very well grow up to be the game changers that you saw on this screen earlier. Now, I mentioned Vitameal. Perhaps some of you are unaware of how our Vitameal efforts initially began. In the year 2002, a massive famine occurred in Malawi, Africa, a mostly landlocked country in rural southeast Africa, and one of the least developed and most densely populated countries in the world. During this famine, about 15 million people lived in Malawi, and estimates show that about 3 out of every 10 of these children died before reaching the age of 5. Can you imagine the horrors of such a predicament? They were projecting that 5 million people would die in this famine. Well, we learned about 11 million AIDS orphans in sub-Saharan Africa, including Malawi, who needed food, and needed education, and needed a chance at life. This number has since increased to 14 million. Now, we saw this from afar, and we decided together, you and we, not to just stand by and do nothing in the face of this tragedy. And so together, we started allocating Vitameal, a nutrient-dense food, to Malawi through one of our charity partners. It was through this effort that we learned about Napoleon Zombe, a businessman in Malawi. He was trying to save his people from starvation during this terrible drought, and knew things needed to change if people of Malawi were to be self-reliant. Napoleon, amazingly, spent virtually all of his self-made fortune saving the people in his country. And the drought went on. And so together we worked on a lasting and sustainable solution to fight malnutrition in Malawi, and we've been there ever since. Thank you. You know, it's important that you recognize the value in that sentence, that we're still there. Many relief efforts provide support on a one-time basis, but Nuskin has gone further. Our Nourish the Children initiative has provided a framework to maintain a consistent level of food on a sustainable basis now for 17 years. These efforts in Malawi continue to address the great need for help and relief that still exists there today. Our efforts are helping to make a difference, and a huge difference, but the problems are not going to go away anytime soon. Now, at the same time, our Vitameal donations have expanded outside of Malawi to places such as mainland China, and Argentina, and Colombia, and Mexico, and the Philippines, and further. Now, remember, I said this isn't just who Nuskin is, it's who you are. You personally are enabling these kinds of miracles. Now, as a for-profit initiative, Nourish the Children facilitates consistent food donations by offering an incentive to buy, donate, and promote Vitameal. And it's that incentive that allows us to have the staying power to ride out these long-lasting problems. And so many of you have partnered with us to provide this critical humanitarian need on an ongoing basis. Now, let me tell you what you've done. We have 4 Vitameal plants around the world, in Malawi, in Argentina, in the United States, and in mainland China. Approximately 120,000 bags of Vitameal, each containing a 30-day child-sized portion of meals, is produced and distributed every month from these locations. Well, let's talk about individual impact. This young man, his name is Anderson. Anderson Sakidi was a baby who was found on a roadside, left to die in Malawi about 13 years ago. Anderson's mother had died of AIDS. His father was unable to provide for him. His 12-year-old sister dropped out of school to care for him, but couldn't because the family just did not have enough food to survive themselves, and certainly not enough to also to provide for little Anderson, and so he was left on the side of a road, hoping that perhaps somebody would find him. Well, when Anderson arrived at the Tinderi orphanage, no one thought that he would survive the night, but he did. He fought, and the orphanage staff worked to bring him back to life. They had nothing to feed him except Vitameal. And so they did, and he began to grow, and his eyes began to take on new life. His future quickly became brighter. His new orphanage mothers and sisters will tell you that it was a gift of Vitameal from one of you to him that saved his life that night. Now, at age 13, Anderson is thriving. He's attending school, he's earning good grades. He's smart and he's strong. At the orphanage where he lives, he's still sustained by Vitameal every day. Anderson is one of the first children that we helped in Malawi. And I get the privilege to see Anderson every year as I go back to visit the country. He's still there at the Tinderi orphanage. And so we get to talk. I've watched him grow. I've watched him become a young man. And I'm impressed with his desire to give back and to care for those around him and to continue to seek a bright future. And so I ask you, could Anderson be one of those world changers? Maybe. You never know. But I do know one thing for sure. You certainly changed his world. Another young man whose life you've changed is Carlos in El Salvador. Carlos, like Anderson, is 13 years old. He lives in an orphanage. Like Anderson, Carlos enjoys Vitameal every day. If you were to meet Carlos, you would quickly see that he's an intelligent, naturally charismatic little boy. People just tend to gravitate to him. He has the makings of a leader, maybe a great leader. Now, things may not have looked as bright for Carlos without your help and Vitameal and our amazing charitable partner, Convoy of Hope. Because Convoy has a presence in the orphanage where he lives. Carlos receives balanced nutrition every day. He can focus on his studies, and he has the energy he needs to do that thing that he loves most in all the world, which is to play goalie on his soccer team. Proper, regular nutrition is the difference between life and death for a child, not only in body, but also in spirit. Last year alone, 44 million meals were purchased and donated to children in need. 44 million meals. Thank you. Each day, every day, including this day, including this morning, 120,000 children were fed Vitameal as probably their most important nutritional element of the day. And it's been you here in this arena, you joining us via live stream from around the world, you and leaders all over the world have heard the call for help and you've responded. Because that's who you are. And as you rise in the ranks of Nuskin on your journey, you are a larger and larger part of what we consider to be our social responsibility. You know, the Bible teaches that to whom much is given, much will be required. Well, that's true principle. That's a forever principle. But it's also a description of us. We truly have been incredibly blessed. Much has been given to us, to all of us, to the least among us. And it's our responsibility and our joy to share that with those who have not been as blessed. So tonight, we honor you and say thank you on behalf of the millions of children whose lives you have touched and continue to touch. And because of your vision and generosity, tonight we can announce a great milestone in our history. Let's make that announcement like this. Please roll this.
Imagine a world where children can become what they were meant to be, where children have enough to eat. Thanks to you, more than 650 million servings of nutritious Vitameal have been distributed to hungry children throughout the world. When Nourish the Children was created in 2002, you responded with compassion and generosity, not only feeding kids in Africa, China, Southeast Asia, and South America, but also giving them an opportunity to thrive. It's an incredible milestone, and we're just getting started. Let's keep changing the world together, one bowl, one child at a time. At Nuskin, we're practical optimists. When we see a problem, we come up with a sustainable solution, like the Nourish the Children initiative, NTC. Not a charity, Nourish the Children is a smart, for-profit business initiative created to alleviate childhood malnutrition. Every day, we empower 120,000 children with Vitameal, a nutrient-rich food that's strategically served at schools to help improve both attendance and learning. Local economies also benefit because jobs are created wherever Vitameal is produced. To make the program easier than ever, we've made some enhancements. Whether you purchase a 10-meal bag or the 30-meal bag, you're fueling the future of a child. And with every purchase of Vitameal, a donation now goes to the Nuskin Force for Good Foundation, making your donation more powerful. Let's keep changing the world together. One bowl, one child at a time.
Did she just say 650 million meals? 650 million meals? That is astonishing. We're trying to figure out how to picture just the pure volume of that thing. That 650 million meals is the equivalent of feeding everyone in the largest city in the world, Shanghai, China, feeding everybody in Shanghai 24 times. I'm sorry, 27 times. 24 million people, 27 times. Now, we like to under-promise and over-deliver around here. And when Rich Wood comes up on the stage and he says to you all, we're going to change the world, you know, to many people that would seem like a lot to say. I mean, we're a lotion company, for heaven's sake. We're really going to change the world. But the reality is, we already have. 650 million meals later, this world is a different place and a better place because of you and the work you do and the contributions you've made. And so give yourselves a round of applause for the enormous, historic thing you've already done. I wonder if we could do more. Are we done? Or do you think that we could come up with another one of those crazy goals like Blake used to talk about, you know, like doing, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion in sales? Let's set a major goal around this thing. Let's come up with a good round number, shall we? Do you think could you all say 1 billion meals? I'll say billion, you say meals. Billion, 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 soon. Let's do that soon. Let's do that soon. Nourish the Children already has a new look and feel, something that you is going to help you to promote that and use that system better in order to get to more children and to make the world an even better place. It will feature a new sustainable bag. You know, all of those meals come in bales and bales of plastic bags that end up having to be dealt with. We've figured out a way to make that more sustainable. And we have decided to make the Vitameal program more accessible to everyone, no matter what stage they're at in their Nuskin development. And so we'll be rolling out a 10-meal bag size in your regions next year at a lower price point so that everybody can get engaged. Starting next year, thank you. Can we just call that a commitment? If you just clapped, will you sign up? Let's do a 30, or let's do a 10, or let's do a bunch, but let's all do it, can we? And starting next year, for every 30-meal bag that is purchased and donated, Nuskin will contribute $2 to the Force for Good program, which will allow Force for Good to do all those things that they do so well. The eye surgeries, the heart surgeries, the other programs that we support. And for every 10-meal bag purchased and supported, we'll donate $1 to the foundation. So by participating in buying Vitameal, you're getting twice the benefit as it gets stretched across all of the Force for Good initiatives. So let's do that too. We hope that all of you will see our gratitude in the coming months as we enhance the Ambassador Recognition Program around Nourish the Children. This change will include recognition at every level of donation. A new recognition category of Nourish the Children Friend will be introduced. And it will be awarded to those who donate 30 meals a month. We're making it easier to participate, and we want more to get involved around this important program. And with these enhancements, we can do even more together. So can we do that? Thank you. Well, so you're going to help us get to $1 billion, right? $1 billion it is. And you know, as I look at these faces right here, I wonder who we're looking at, these children who we're saving. In their eyes, I see the next Steve Jobs or the next Nelson Mandela. I see the next Marie Curie or J.R.R. Tolkien. We have the ability to help them become what they were meant to be, and we have the chance with them to truly change the world. Now, I said it earlier, Nuskin is about more than a business. And although we probably didn't know it at the beginning, we do know it now. It's about building a legacy. Everyone in this room is going to leave a legacy behind. Not a question of whether you leave one, but instead what your legacy will be. Well, you're a part of the Nuskin legacy. And this is a legacy. It is grounded in our passionate desire to be a force for good in the world. A legacy that we are building every day together. Thank you for your part in making that legacy a reality by being a tremendous force for good all over this world. Thank you.